Hi everyone, welcome to Lights, Camera, Action. I'm Allison Howard and your host for tonight. Tonight we're going to be talking to 3 actors and 1 also fashion model from the Washington, D.C., Baltimore area. So first we have Jenny Taylor, Howard Lyles, and Chasita Giles. Thank you so much everyone for coming in and being willing to talk with us.
Thanks for having us.
Absolutely.
Thank you.
Thank you. So, to start it off, how did each of you get into acting?
Well, I didn't really start in earnest until after college. Aside from the occasional school play, I really dove into community theater after I graduated.
Now, did you major in theater or did you major in something else?
I majored in sociology, so
Wow.
always wanted to act, but it took a while to build up the courage to go for it.
Wow, good for you. I'm glad you found your place.
Thank you.
How about you, Howard?
Well, you sit around, you watch TV, you recite movies, and of course, once you do that, everybody thinks that they can be on TV. So me, I just seized the moment and attempted it, and it's working so far. So I have no complaints.
Very cool. Did you have any formal training at all, or you
yes.
really just jumped in?
I jumped in, but before I actually did anything, I made sure I had the proper training. So I had the proper training by a lot of prestigious and renowned people that had my best interest. So
wow.
Yes.
Good for you.
Absolutely.
Very cool. Chasita, how about you?
I've always wanted to either be an actor or a singer since I was little. Like, it's always been what I wanted to do, but I was also very shy growing up, so I really didn't. I took classes like in college, in high school, but I didn't really get into it until my senior year of college. The first thing I ever did was I got a featured background role in The Women, the remake of The Women with Meg Ryan, because that filmed in Boston, which is where I'm from originally.
Very cool.
And since then, I've just continued to take classes. I take a lot of classes with Professor Denise Hart in DC, and I do theater. I try to do everything to stay well-rounded, so. Yeah.
That's great. Now, what did you major in?
I majored in communications with a minor in French, so, yeah.
Minor in French.
Oui, je parle français.
Oh mon Dieu, moi aussi.
Oh, nice.
Very cool. We should talk later. But not in French, because I don't think our audience would appreciate that.
Right.
So it's interesting to see the different backgrounds that each of us have and how each of us have now all of a sudden gotten into acting. Mm-hmm. Was there anything in particular that you remember that truly drew you? Was there a particular movie that you went and saw, or did you go see a stage play as a little kid, or were you in a play maybe as a younger child, and then that really drove the aspirations to be an actor?
I actually, my uncle was on a cable sitcom when I was younger, and it was filmed close by, so we were able to go every other week and watch the live taping of it. And
so
as a
cool.
6, 7-year-old, I was sitting there just in awe the whole time and watched them do it over and over and over again. And I just became absolutely enamored with it at that point.
That's incredible.
Well, when you actually watch an actor and you see how genuine that, him or her, when they're doing their roles or scenes, and the thing that captured me was when it was real. It wasn't nothing fiction, and you can actually feel, actually you would think that their heart's in your body, because you're like, wow. So, I just want to attempt it and see if I can actually bring out what they brought out of me, because I'm watching it on TV and I'm sitting back like, okay, that's nice. So, let's try it. But, there's only specific actors that I can say that has happened, but I have had, the opportunity to watch them. So that was cool.
Wow, very cool.
Yeah, I think because I was so shy when I was younger, like really, really shy, and I never thought I was like very pretty or very talented. Like, I just was very, you couldn't pay me to go back to like my teenage years. You could not. But when I was younger, reading, writing, and making up stories was kind of my thing, because I could pretend to be someone else. So the way I used to play with my dolls was I'd make up stories, or if I had cousins and friends come over, I'd assign them roles and we'd act out like, medieval times or some crazy story I made up. So I kind of it's something I always did as kind of an escape type of thing. And as I got older and got more courage, I started to take it more seriously and say, okay, I'm going to be brave enough to really go for what I want to do. Yeah.
That's great.
That's phenomenal.
That's really, really cool. So I know each of you have been doing so many different things because there's so many different things to do in this area when it comes to industrials and commercials and indie films, and there's a lot of television that's also filmed around here and also fashion. Have you had a particular experience in any of those realms that you've loved the most? Like that's been your favorite experience that you tell everybody?
I know hands down. Like the project that I worked on over the summer, which is actually part of a film festival that's happening right now, the Real Independent Film Extravaganza, is my role in Thick. I play a character named Nina. She's an assassin. She's like a former child soldier from the Congo, and I had a personal trainer. I got really in shape for the role. It's nothing like the model version of me. This is like a really rough, tough, gritty girl. And I mean, I had a fight scene that when we filmed it that night, it started pouring. The tunnel we were fighting in started flooding. I mean, you can't see any of this from watching it, but it was a lot of work, and it pushed me a lot. And I worked with my acting coach on the role, and it's absolutely the biggest and best thing I've ever done.
Talk about preparation. So you were an assassin, so you got the personal trainer. Mm-hmm. Had you ever done any sort of stage combat before?
Never. This is my first time doing stage combat. It was a lot of firsts for me. It was my first time doing a love scene. Mm-hmm. My love scene's actually with a girl. That took some preparation. I had to ask my acting coach, how do I make this real? Because like that's not totally my thing. So I was like, how do I make this real so that people believe it, you know?
Right.
And it was a long process. From the time they called me and told me I was cast for that role, I started preparing for it because I've never done anything like any of the stuff I did before. Killing people, all of that. It was a lot of fun.
Wow.
Yeah.
Well, actually, for me, the film that, the short me and Jenny worked on, Sloane, and what actually intrigued me about it was how the director, Jay Lane, he was on point about everything. The scheduling, the timing, everything was just on point. Nobody was lackadaisical or, sitting back and acting like they didn't want to be there. Jay made it exciting for us to want to come to work every day. So I was eagerly anticipating on working, on Sloane. And then working with Jenny, we had such a rapport that, it's just like, okay, I can't wait. When are we coming back? When are we going to do it? Like, we're doing Sloane and I'm asking him about the next film. I'm like,
right.
I'm like, what are we doing next? So to work with someone that's genuine and who, takes a chance on you, that's priceless. Absolutely, that's priceless to me. And then when you work around people that actually want to work, I wouldn't trade it in for anything.
Absolutely.
Definitely. To piggyback off of what Howard said, our short film Sloane was definitely the first time that I had a featured role in a film, and coming from stage, it was a learning curve for me, but our director took a chance on me, and it was so much easier having other actors who are pursuing this for a living.
Yes.
And to work with them on set, and you just walk and you're there to do a job, and a lot of that job is chemistry. It's how you interact with each other.
Absolutely.
And that has been my favorite film experience so far, just because we all did hit it off. It's a serious film, but it didn't mean that we couldn't have fun. And
Right.
it was a challenging role. I think everybody had a challenging role, and that made for a really great finished product.
Now, touching on something that you just said was that there were a lot of people in the film who make their living as actors. Mm-hmm. And I know that whenever I've mentioned to people that I'm an actor living in the DC area, people just kind of say, what? Now, what types of reactions have you ever gotten from people when you tell them that you're into acting or theater or fashion, especially since this isn't a town that's generally known for being creative? What types of misconceptions do people come to you with?
Sarcasm.
Oh, really?
Sarcasm. I mean, because this is not LA.
Right.
It's not New York. You know, so because you're here, everybody automatically says, you need to leave. You need to go to LA. You need to go to New York, because if you're here, you're not going to make it. So it's almost like raining on your parade. And if they don't see, if, you know, the people, the quote unquote people who's telling you to go to LA and New York, if they see you on a commercial or in a film or a short film, then that's when they start to, you know, like, oh, okay, it's doable. You know, it's almost like the impossible. You know, so if you have nothing to show them,
Right.
you know, legitimate, you know, you can be, I'm talking something serious, they're not going to have no belief in you. They're not going to support you because you're here. It's discouraging, you know, but when you want to, like me, this is my life, acting. I don't want to do anything else.
Right.
You know, acting is my life, so you are not going to discourage me because I'm in Maryland and DC, and, you know, I travel. I go to New York, LA, so it's not a big deal, and it shouldn't matter where you are. You know, and people shouldn't stereotype the situation as saying,
Right.
oh, you're in Maryland and DC, so you're not going to make it, but hey, thanks, you know,
Right.
thanks for Sloane, you know.
Right.
You know, so,
Yeah.
yeah.
I actually think that we're in a great location. There's a lot of things starting to be filmed here, but also we do have the proximity to New York City. A lot of things are filmed in North Carolina and Southern Virginia, so
Philadelphia.
exactly.
Yeah.
It takes,
Yes.
and there's so many things that they do with online casting and Skype auditions that, you know, yes, the market is a lot bigger in New York City and in LA, but I don't think people realize that there is enough here to really get your start in acting.
Absolutely.
Yeah, and I think too, in this area, what I've come across, especially with modeling, I would say more so than acting, is this. I would say there's a lot of talent in the DMV area. A lot. It's almost like saturated with talent. Like almost all of my friends act, sing, and dance, and they're all into theater and music and all of that kind of thing. So I think a lot of times when I tell people that, you know, I really seriously am pursuing acting, it's not so much it's a little bit of the skepticism, because they don't know how serious you are about it, because everyone says that. Everyone says like they're into acting. Everyone's a model. Everyone's a singer, and everyone isn't serious about it though.
Right.
So I think a lot of times people don't know how serious you are about it until they see you in a big project, or until, you know, they see your resume or something like that. Because I work almost 7 days a week.
Good for you.
You know, acting is not my full-time job yet, but between what I do full-time and me pursuing my passion, I'm always busy. So I think it varies person to person, just how serious you are, and people try to gauge how serious you are about what you're trying to do.
Absolutely
Certainly.
right.
Yeah. Because I know that if you believe in yourself, then ultimately everybody else surrounding you is going to believe in you, because they just don't have a choice
Right.
not to.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
So, talking about the ideas of future roles and different things that you guys would like to get involved in, if you could write yourself a role to be any type of person, whether it be a superhero or like a female version of Indiana Jones or like whatever you wanted it to be, what type of character would you like to play?
I just want to do a comedy.
Do you get pegged for sad films?
Or just intense. It's very interesting how sometimes you get typecast against like
Yes.
completely differently than you think you will be.
Yes.
And people see the roles that I'm in and they're like, really? Because I am bubbly and positive in person, and then they see what I play on film and they don't know what to do with themselves. So I would love to play just, you know, the smart, funny girl next door.
And see, I would completely peg you as the smart, funny girl next door. Not like the psychologically like depressed girl. Like you're the funny girl.
not in the films that I've gotten.
No way.
Definitely not in
Sloane.
Yeah.
Oh, really?
There's nothing funny about her and Sloane.
Oh no!
Absolutely.
I can't wait to see this. I'll have a new perception of Jenny.
She's phenomenal. You'll definitely have your guard up after you watch Sloane.
Uh-oh.
Yeah.
What if you could write yourself apart, what would it be?
I would be an attorney, a doctor, or something like, you know, along those lines. Something that's more serious, you know, that I can gauge my talent to show that, you know, I can be serious. You know, not that, you know, people don't think I can be serious, but you tend to get typecast. You know, oh, you think you can come do this? You know, sports. you're 6 foot
Right.
tall, your sports, let's, come in, play this specific role. So I want people to see that I can be a doctor, an attorney, a school teacher, or, I can even play a role, where it's so much adversity, as far as someone having cancer and you're surviving and things like that. So those are the things that get me emotional and wanting to even, further my career as an actor, because those are the things that, people want to see.
Right.
They want to see, the adversity and the transition of a person, when they're acting. So that's what I would love to do, as far as, more so than anything, like what Tom Hanks did in Philadelphia.
Yes.
That, because that would be challenging,
Yes.
very challenging. So I would take that challenge on.
Now, I hope you don't mind me asking, what types of roles do you get typecast as?
Gangster.
Gangster.
Sports. Yes. So when I get the call, it's like, hey, we will, feature you in this, or, how would you like to do this? Like, a lot of my commercials have been, people will call me because I've done CarMax commercials.
Yes.
And they call me and be like, dude, you work at a car dealer? I'm like, no, that's an actual commercial. So I don't mind, being a so, quote unquote gangster, or a guy that's, has an authoritative figure in a film. But I would love to showcase my talents, because
Certainly.
I know I'm a great actor, but until you get the opportunity, you're only going to, get what people are seeing. So if they're seeing Sloane, they're going to like, oh, well, he would be good in another movie.
He's a
like
great
that.
gangster. We should just put him a
Exactly.
gangster in this
Yeah,
movie.
exactly. I want to be someone's dad one day in a film.
Right.
Absolutely. So, that's what I would give my left arm for that. Yes.
Hopefully you won't have to do that. Jacita, how about you? What kind of role, if you could write yourself a role, what would it be?
I actually am really getting into the whole action thing. Like, I love Marvel Comics. I would love to be an X-Men. Like, if I could have been Storm, that would make my whole life. Like Storm, or a character like Jean Grey. Like, I definitely would love to be in a Marvel Comics type, or like in The Matrix. I want to do all my own stunts. I'd go through all the training for it. I love that kind of thing. And I've actually been fortunate enough that I've played, I've done a comedy. I've done, this is very niche, but I've done like a nunsploitation film where I was like with a group of nuns and we were like killer nuns. But I've done a little bit of drama, but lately, since I moved to the DC area, I've been cast as lesbian a lot. I'm not quite so sure how I feel about that. I mean, it's cool. It's definitely helped me to grow as an actor.
Certainly.
But because it doesn't matter if you have a love interest, it doesn't matter really what gender it is, because it's about loving somebody.
Right.
And that really, playing a lesbian has helped me to understand that when you're playing love, roles where you have a love interest. But I really am into the action stuff. So
You'd write yourself another action role?
I definitely would, and I'd go bigger and badder. Like,
oh my gosh.
Yeah.
That would be, I think it would be amazing to be like an action star,
Oh,
or to
yeah.
do something like that. But to touch on the love scenes, do you find love scenes challenging?
Yeah, because like I don't want to get married, and like I'm not so sure I'm gonna have kids, and I don't like talking about my feelings very much.
Right.
And I've gotten this from guys. I act like a dude a little bit. Like I'm not really touchy-feely, and I'm not. I mean, I'm a nice person. I'm a loving person, but I'm not like super affectionate. So
Right.
those are kind of difficult for me, because it's not. It's like I don't like mushy stuff. Like I wouldn't want to be in The Notebook. I've never seen The Notebook.
Just about to ask.
I've never even seen it, and
It's not your thing.
I'm sure it's a great film, but I'm just not into the whole like chick flicks, and it's not really I'm more of a Ninja Turtles and Cocoa Pebbles on the weekend type of person, and and I love Marvel Comics.
Yes.
So I'm definitely, while I do model and I like to be pretty, I'm still kind of a little bit more of, I wouldn't even say tomboy. I'm just not into the love stuff.
Totally understand. I was just curious as to whether or not you found that type of scene challenging.
Oh, yeah.
And it's, like that type of emotional connection, I feel like would be very challenging.
Oh, yeah.
Have either of you had any challenging scenes? Not necessarily love scenes, but have there ever been any scenes that you've had to do that you found very either hard to connect with, or like you really had to delve into the character and it was emotionally taxing for you? Has there been anything?
Yes, actually, I had an audition for a film, and I was auditioning for a part, and he was called the overseer, but it had something to do with terrorism. And I wasn't actually the terrorist, but I was actually running the organization, and I could not connect with that on the audition for anything. And when I'm on the audition, I'm auditioning for the casting director, and they were kind of upset about it, but I was like, I couldn't get into it. You know, like the desire to play that role.
Didn't exist.
I could not get into it. So it looked like I bombed it, but I couldn't get into it because that's one thing that was very touching and hard for me to do as far as being a terrorist. I mean, I couldn't get into that. That was challenging enough just knowing.
Right.
So
another role in one of the films that I've done is I was afraid for my life, and that's something that you don't really think about. Like I haven't luckily been in any situations like that, and hope not to. And I was gagged, so it was coming across as that fear without having any words. It was just kind of fighting and that sort of thing. That was difficult to complete that scene.
Wow.
It was very emotionally taxing afterwards.
I'm sure. Yeah, and especially, I mean, did you, knowing the scene was happening, was there any way for you to do any research for it before? I mean, I don't even know, what would you even look for? Like, situations that make you fear for your life, like Google that? Like,
well, when there's a gun on set in your face, it's not too hard to think about it. And you think of like great roles that you've seen that have been believable, and you try to kind of channel what they must have been channeling.
Wow. I can imagine that being really challenging.
Yeah.
So let's talk about things that are coming up for you guys. Now, are there any things that are coming up that are either theater or film or television that's going to be airing soon, or anything in the festival circuit, or any sort of fashion show that might be coming up?
Well, so Thick is premiering on October 17th, and I'm super excited about that. That's going to be...
Congratulations.
Yes, that's going to be at the West End Cinema in Georgetown at 7 p.m. And I have a fashion show coming up in December. They're still in the planning phases for it, but I did the same fashion show last year. Circa 34 puts it on. That's a consignment store. And they usually, everything they raise, they donate it to different charitable organizations. And I'm working on putting together my own fashion show, and I just started talking to the Prevent Cancer Foundation so that they would be the beneficiary of my fashion show.
Certainly.
Cancer is something that's very touching to me. I personally am a survivor of childhood cancer. When I was 9, I had ovarian cancer, and I had one of my ovaries removed. So my whole theme for it is I want to do a fashion show that highlights cancer survivor models.
Wow.
I just did DC Fashion Week, and I met a model who I think she's 3 years now without any, 3 years in remission. She had lymphoma, and that's what really gave me the idea to find other. I'm like, there must be other models that have either survived cancer in some kind of way, and so I want to do a fashion show around that. So I'm planning that now and working on a proposal. And the last big project I'm working on is I sing. So, but that's also something, like I said, again, very shy growing up, and singing, I've really just now started to work more on it. So I'm putting together a small EP, and I'm writing songs right now. And so those are my major projects that I'm working on.
Wow.
Sounds great.
Amazing.
Well, as of right now, we, Sloane just premiered the film that me and Jenny is in, and we are really putting a lot of time and devotion into that film because it's so phenomenal.
Yes.
The writing was great. Jay Lane, he's phenomenal. He's a great guy. I would love to work with him again. And, Sloane had us consumed because Sloane has the potential to actually go to, take us to open doors for us that we never knew existed.
Right.
So, Sloane I kind of had my eggs in Sloane, but I'm also working on something called A King's Son. The director's name is Commodore. Malacon Productions, that's pretty cool. And, just auditioning, New York, Philadelphia, so I'm working. I just want to work, that's all, but mainly it's Sloane. Sloane is, is phenomenal. So
Sloane.
Absolutely.
We're working on hopefully a feature length for that. So that will hopefully, if we get enough support.
Absolutely.
And I also have another feature length that will be hopefully making the festival circuit as well. It's called Reaper, another dark film, Red the Grim Reaper.
Oh no!
I play the devil's girlfriend. So.
That's perfect timing for right now because they're getting close to Halloween.
Yes. So hopefully, the two films, and then always looking for other work here.
You played the devil's girlfriend?
That's pretty
So
awesome.
hopefully a comedy.
Right.
My fingers crossed.
My goodness. Now, just real quick, I know that we touched a little bit on the idea of having so much work in this area, but obviously New York and Los Angeles are still hubs. Now, just real quick, any of you guys planning on moving to either of those hubs in the near future?
I'm planning to move to New York.
New York? That makes sense for fashion.
Right. I mean, that's my plan. That's everyone's. At the end of the rainbow.
Yes.
Because those are the meccas of everything.
Of course.
You actually want to be in either one of those staples. So that is the plan. But I'm not gonna go out there for nothing.
Right.
So
course.
what I do is I do my due diligence. I connect with this person. I talk to this person. I do homework. So when I go out to LA, New York, I'm going straight to where I need to be. So
Absolutely.
when I go to LA, I have something going on. When I'm
Right.
in New York, I have something going on. So things have been working out, so I'm definitely looking to go there.
Yeah.
I mean, especially as being a full-time actor. So I'm looking to go to New York, LA, plant my flag.
Absolutely. And how about you, Jenny, real quick?
Echoing what Howard said, definitely doors open if, opportunities arise.
Absolutely. Well, I'm sure plenty of doors are going to open for each of you. It sounds like all of you have great careers to look forward to, and I cannot wait to hear more about them. Thank you so much for coming in and chatting with us. But unfortunately, we have to wrap this up. This has been Lights, Camera, Action with Allison Howard, and we've been talking to three wonderful people, as well as actors and a future fashion designer. Thank you so much for tuning in, and see you next time.